Previously on Tiger Vision.
Immigrants to America are not once, not twice, not thrice, but 4 times as likely to become millionaires as born Americans. I wonder why. Is it that they're smarter, work harder? I think that. I think it is because from their heart, from their soul, from their being, their beliefs, derives all that they are and all that they can therefore become.
Knowing your beliefs is the start of creating your destiny. So grab a desk as we conclude our lesson about what it takes to capture the American dream of freedom on this episode of Tiger Vision. Welcome to this episode of Tiger Vision. We are in the biggest fight of our lives as average is turning into the new American dream. When looking to become elite, you look like an alien amongst a bunch of people whose compass is set for average. Here at Tiger Vision, we tell you to break away from the crowd because there is never a crowd on the leading edge of success.
Which notes are you taking? Where's your list? Where's your list? You got to go home and write some things down. See, many of us won't write things down because we write it down, then we got to take ownership of it. And if I never write it down, then I don't never have to take ownership of my failures. Write your goals down and then hold on to them. A lot of people won't do that. Paradigm education is a lie. Go to school to get an education, get a good job to make good money. They're destroying an entire generation of young people, and you see it every day. That's why you're seeing young men and children dying on street corners because somebody taught them that money is the king. Only thing you have to do is get the money and everything will be all right. To have financial independence, you got to have more than the money. Never forget I moved back to New Orleans. Now I moved back to the hood because I got to save the hood. PhD, moved back to New Orleans. I moved in my hood, I'm in my house and I'm reading. I'm reading a book like The Millionaire Next Door. And I remember I had to go and speak the next day and my rent was like $1,000. They had like a $1,100 bill, $1,100 bill like they gave that gentleman. And I said, oh, I don't have time to pay my rent. So I took my $1,000 and I put in my book. I took my book and I sat it on the counter. I went and packed up my bags and I went out the next day and I left. And I went to Dallas and I gave the speech. When I came back in, I pulled up in front of my house and I looked up and my door was cracked. I ran up on the stairs and I went up on the porch and I looked. I said, oh, nah, I know somebody ain't breaking my house, crackhead. And I went in the house, and I mean, all my plants was turned over. I went in my bedroom, my mattress was turned over. Went in the kitchen, all the pots and pans was all on the floor. I went in my room, and they had taken my socks and my underwear out and dumped them on the floor looking for money. And then, Mike, I remembered every day when I come home, I take my little nickels and my dimes, and I put in a cup right by the door. So I was thinking, I'm like, my cup. And I ran by the door, and my cup was gone. I said, that crackhead got my change. Then I started thinking, I said, my book. And I ran in the kitchen, I went to that bar. And the coasters where I put my cocktail was turned over. My plant next to the book was turned over, but my book was right there on the counter. I flipped that book open, and my $1,000 was right there. The stereotype in our community is, if you want to hire someone from a black man, where do you put it? So why do we perpetuate the stereotype? Never without a book, never reading, never learning, never trying to understand and receive the secrets of the universe, because the secrets to the universe, to wealth creation, financial independence, are right there in the book. It's there for you. But for many of us, books have become to us like kryptonite to Superman. Oh, no, not a book. Oh. Tony, I did a drive-by the other day. I got a case of my books I put in the car. I just got mad. I was going down the street. I saw some people on the corner. Told my boy, slow down. I rolled the window down and said, slow down. I took like 5 books and threw them. Boom. They were like, oh, no. Boom, boom. Not a book. We got to change our mindsets. And some old man told me, get the mind in the behind real fast. Change your mind and your behind gonna just go with your mind. But many of us think our asset is something that we sit on. We too busy dressing up our asset than changing our mindset. So our asset look good and our minds are empty. When you change your mind, then your assets won't be no problem. When you change your mind, you have to understand that you attract what you put out. I don't worry about money because I go places and people start trying to stuff money in my pocket. I was like, man, get up off me. Get up off me, man. It's the way you carry yourself. When you begin to read and learn, not the things that the system are teaching you. Because the goal of a system is to reproduce itself. I don't care. You all engineers, you work somewhere, you work at McDonald's. They got a system. And the system rejects perturbation. The system rejects things that are unlike itself. So expect rejection. Because people are in the system. And you're a perturbation to that system. You're trying to shake that system. The reasonable man will spend his life trying to adapt to the world. But the unreasonable person spend their life forcing the world to adapt to them. Are you reasonable or are you unreasonable? Rosa Parks was unreasonable and she sat down and the whole world stood up. Martin Luther King was a little average boy, 2.3 GPA at Morehouse. He was an average boy. He stood up and the whole world changed. The only thing we want. We have people in the room who are doing that. And they don't teach you about wealth development and wealth creation, financial independence. And we don't even believe a lot of times that we can get there because we've never even seen it, but now we have examples. And the only thing you have to do is ask them, show me. And many of us, our pride won't even allow us to ask the universe to show us. Because we think we short ourselves when we ask another brother, another sister, another man to show me. I keep going up to people and asking one question, how did you do it? Because I know if you did it, I can do it. Just tell me how. This thing ain't about being no genius. It's about process and procedures. And you follow the process and procedures and you mock success. Many of us have done nothing but mock failure. Our parents never learned financial development and growth and independence, so therefore we mock that. I grew up in a house where no one had ever worked for anybody ever. My dad dropped out of school in 8th grade to pick cotton. Came to New Orleans in 1965 and started a roofing company in the aftermath of Betsy, and eventually started a company that employed over 100 black men. My dad, one of the wisest people I've ever known. He used to tell me things like this. He said, boy, the only time I got A's and B's in school was A for absent and B for boring. You can do better. He said, son, if I can read and write like you, I'll be a billionaire. Now that's pressure. That's pressure. My great-great-great-grandfather bought 150 acres of land in 1896 in West Feliciana Parish. Now, I went to the courthouse last week and I found a deed. His name is Charles Smothers. And in between the Charles and the Smothers, they had an X. And over the X, they had a word called his, and below the X, they had a word mark. His mark. In 1896, illiterate, he was able to do something that we can't even do now, buy land. So if my great-great-grandfather was able to create wealth in 1896 with no so-called education, then I should be able to do it in 2006. We got to get back to the wisdom my grandmother taught. My grandmother died in 1987 at the age of 88. She was born in 1899, never set foot in the schoolhouse, but yet and still she's one of the wisest people I've ever known. And the education system not giving us the things that my grandmother got when, when she was born illiterate. In West Feliciana Parish, she was a nanny on a live oak plantation that never set foot in the schoolhouse, but yet and still, she used to teach more by accident than most people do on purpose. My grandmother would trip and teach a lesson. She go, oh, baby, don't let the cracks in this world stop you. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Don't let these naysayers stop you all. You got to keep going. Don't let the failure stop you. You got to keep going. Nothing wrong with falling in the water. The problem is staying in the water. And if you fall on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. This thing is not about not failing. You're going to fail a lot before you succeed. but you have to change your train of thought. The poet Keith said education is not the filling of a bucket, but the lighting of a fire. When you get educated, you're supposed to be on fire. They asked Don King, what is success? Don King says, set yourself on fire and people show up to watch you burn.